Alright, in this lecture, we're going to go ahead and add in all of our detail and values to our drawing. So just like we looked at each individual grid square and copied what was in that square in our photograph, we're going to do the same thing but with our values. So let's start with the eye again. So if we have a look at the eye, we'll notice that there's a little bit of a white spot or highlight within this black part of the eye. So let's go ahead and fill that in, but we want to make sure that we leave that little highlight out. So I'm laying down a piece of paper so I don't smudge any of this. Then I'll go ahead and start to fill that in. So first I'm going to kind of draw out the shape of that highlighted area so I make sure I don't draw within there or add any dark values. Like so, and then it's not necessarily one big large white area like this. So now I can go ahead and go in there and kind of add some darker values in there and make it look more like it does in the photograph. Alright, perfect. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next part of the eye. So there's like a white ring that goes around the pupil of the eye, so we want to include that. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a darker ring around the pupil of the eye, but we're going to leave out a little white space around the edge of that eye. And then as we come over to this area, the reflection continues over this, so we want to make sure we leave out a small area right there that we can use for our reflection. And then we'll go ahead and work a little bit more on that reflection so it looks more similar to what we have in our photograph. And then I'm also noticing on these edges of the white ring, it's a little bit darker and it's lighter on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some darker values on both sides of our white ring. Then let's go ahead and move on to the orange part of the eye. So the orange part of the eye is going to be a lighter value, but it's still going to be darker than white. So let's go ahead and begin to fill that in with a mid-tone value. And I'm going to leave the top part a little bit lighter and the bottom part a little bit darker. Then I'm going to go ahead and start adding in some darker detail around the edge of that part of the eye. Alright, great. Then I'm noticing that right here it's a little bit darker and then it transitions into this lighter color because there's kind of a reflection up here on the top of the eye. And then down here it's a little bit darker also, right around there. So go ahead and darken that area in. Alright, perfect. Next, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the eyelid part. So the bird kind of has a strange sort of eyelid where it has looping sort of design on top of it like so, kind of like lace almost, and then it's got a darker edge right above that. And it goes all the way around the eye, so we have some more of that sort of lacy texture. And then down here on the bottom it's the same. So first we want to make the edge of the eyelid like so. And then we'll go ahead and add in sort of looping texture like so. Then let's go ahead and add in some value in there. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in some of this feather texture. So we have sort of a dark edge right here. And over here, it's a really thin dark edge, but still a little bit of a dark edge. And that turns into some darker feathers. And then underneath here, we also have some dark edges on our feathers. And those kind of turn into their own feathers, like so. I'm just trying to copy exactly what I see in this square. So it's very much like drawing from still life, except you're only drawing one grid space at a time. All right, great. So now we just created that one square. So basically, you just want to do this with every single square until you finish the entire drawing. And I think once you do this, you'll be really impressed with how good of a drawing you can draw by using this technique. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this process, but I want you to see how I do it. So let's go ahead and get started.
that brings us to the end of this lecture. So in this lecture, we learned how to add the value into our grid drawing. Now, once you've completed your drawing, you're free to go ahead and erase away your grid guidelines. Now, I recommend that you erase these at the end and not at the beginning, because you want to use them throughout the entire drawing to make sure that you're transferring the image correctly onto your paper. Thanks for watching this lecture, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one.